Alrighty. So I'm just going to do something here. For just a moment, and then I'm going to get set up. Pictures, yes. Okay. Alrighty. So what I wanted to chat about today is I wanted to talk about the astrology for this week, as I do every single week on my channel. And I wanted to do it live this week. And I know that the people who probably are going to be watching this are going to catch this live stream when it's done. But if you come on, then feel free to say something in the chat and to contribute to what I'm saying. So there's a lot happening this week, and it's taken me a little bit to prepare for this live stream. That's why I have postponed it. I intended on doing it at 10, but unfortunately, I was not, I wasn't prepared and I needed more time. So that's why I'm doing it this time. And I already prepared another live stream, but then I ended up going live without doing a test to make sure the sound was working, and the sound was not working. So that's life. But I'm not going to get rid of anything. It's perfect in its imperfections, and I am grateful to be doing this live stream here and now, and to come prepared and to discuss with you what is happening for this week. Now, I did recently come off of a vacation that I spent with my family. My mom and my dad and we went to Chicago for a wedding, one of my cousin's weddings, and then we also went to the Finger Lakes up in upstate New York, spent time in a cabin and did things, walked, trails, saw waterfalls. And so that was really, really fun. And so we arrived just the other day. And so that's why I've been away from social media, because there was no Wi-Fi in the cabin. And so I'm glad to be back. And I just wanted to say that and get that off my chest before discussing what I want to with you. But first of all, let me get the light on, so that we have enough light. So that I have enough light. Alrighty. So the week begins for this week, which is probably the most significant week, the biggest week in July 2023 out of all the weeks of this month. So I'm going to break down each of these events that are going to be happening one by one. And I want to discuss with you all that I want to discuss. I don't want to leave out something. So I want to be very in-depth, but I hope that you find this informative, insightful, and that you get value from this information. So this is sort of a guide to help you move through the week as we unpack each of these different events. So it starts out on Monday. Monday is a really, really huge day. A lot is happening on Monday, July 17th. And we have the new moon in Cancer. This new moon occurs at 24 degrees and 57 minutes of Cancer. It happens at 1:35 p.m. Central Time and 2:35 Eastern Standard Time. So you want to find your 24 degrees of the cardinal signs, Cancer, Libra, Aries, and Capricorn, fall in your natal chart, especially if you have your personal planets, the Sun, the Moon, Mercury, Venus, and Mars, in those signs. Because that's, you're really going to be affected, and you're going to have a more significant opportunity during this new moon. So the new moon occurs when the sun and moon are conjunct in a sign. And new moons are times where we start again. It's the beginning of a lunar cycle. So the moon moves really, really quickly. It stays in a sign for either 2 or 3 days, and it starts the new moon, then we build up to the full moon, and then we move back. The moon wanes back to the new moon, and between those cycles are what's called quarter moons. So we're going to have the new moon in Cancer, the quarter moon in the sign of Scorpio, the sun in Leo, squaring the moon in Scorpio, and then the full moon in Aquarius, and then the quarter moon with the sun square the moon, the sun in Leo and the moon in Taurus, and then we have the new moon in Leo, the next new moon next month on August 16th. So we'll, hopefully I'll talk about the quarter moons as we get there. But new moons are times when the sun and moon are holding hands. They're dark. There's no reflection. It's a dark sky where we go inside ourselves and we are more tuned into our inner world. And they're a great time for starting again on an emotional and spiritual level, where we can find time to set those new intentions for what we want to create and manifest in our lives. So this new moon, when we have the themes of Cancer, because we are in Cancer season, and Cancer is ruled by, symbolized by the crab, which is very internal. If you think about a crab, going down in the sand, curling its head in the sand, and crawling beneath the sand to find shelter because of the sensitivity and the vulnerability of Cancer. Cancer is water. Like if I were to tap on a glass of water, guess what would happen? There would be reactivity. So Cancer is very sensitive to any reactivity, anything that stimulates it in the environment, any mental or emotional stimulation, and that crab can go down in there, and it can be very sensitive to the waves. So this new moon is really about establishing our sense of emotional safety and security. Do we feel secure inside ourselves and strong inside ourselves on an emotional level? How we built up a resilient, strong home inside ourselves. This is also about where we're looking at our emotional needs and wants and our well-being. So there's more of a focus on these things, to what we need and want on an emotional level to make us feel comfortable at home, like we're living in a sanctuary, which is wherever we're living, in whatever state that we are living in. So looking at our emotional state of being is also very important. Are we caught in the negative emotions? Are we caught in, negativity, fear, insecurity, anxiety, stress, feeling depressed, etc.? Or are we living in peace, joy, love, happiness, gratitude, and bliss? So what is our state of being, our emotional state of being at this time? It's good, profound thing to consider. So we can look at our emotional needs at once, and how are we nurturing ourselves? How are we taking care of our physical body, our mind, our spiritual well-being? I'm gonna just stand up for a second because okay, there we go. So nurturing ourselves, taking care of ourselves, feeding ourselves. This can be the foods that we put in our body. And how do we feel? How does, our body feel about those foods? Are we drinking enough water? Are we allowing ourselves the space to replenish and do things that are, that are based off of self-care, that we're taking care of ourselves? And it's also time to be very sensitive and attuned and caring to others as well. But that because Cancer as a sign can at one level get so wrapped up in the needs of other people that there is neglect for taking care of your own soul emotional needs. So really taking care of yourself with the energy of the new moon. New moons are always times to take care of yourself, especially at the Cancer new moon. So taking care of ourselves, feeding ourselves, nurturing ourselves, so that we have enough peace and energy so that we can take care of other people. This is very, very important. And let's not forget this. So do we feel at home inside ourselves? Do we feel secure inside of ourselves? And home doesn't necessarily have to be just the physical environment of home, but it can be an inner state of home inside our body, because the moon is home. And O is actually numerology, one of the letters that represent the 6 in numerology, which is a family number. It deals with being the caretaker in family. It's part of what 6 energy is about if you want to study numerology. And so, with this energy, I do think that it's very, very important to look at our sense of home, that we, allowing ourselves to drop in, find home, take a breath, being present inside our body. And that can come from an inner sense of security and love that we have for ourselves, or not. And this may be a time to reevaluate how much do we care for ourselves? How much do we spend time to do the things that will nourish us on a soul level? And are we allowing ourselves this time? So, whatever situation that we're in, no matter how chaotic, no matter how frantic, how wild, how turbulent, how unstable, how unsettling, how challenging, can we come home inside ourselves? So this new moon is a time for deep emotional reflection, where we're, going inside ourselves on a new moon spinning. It's a good time to stay at home, stay, quiet, if you can, because it's a Monday that this new moon is occurring on. So this means that we are in both of the lunations, by the way, the full moon in Capricorn and the new moon in Cancer, this Cancer season, all occur on Mondays, which is the day of the moon, an emotional day, a feeling day, an internal day where we are feeling, we're trusting our intuition, we're looking at our instincts. We are connecting with ourselves emotionally on a deeper level and the others around us, but that can only come from a feeling place, from a centered place, from a caring place that is authentic inside of us, where we have enough energy and love to give to others. So this is a time of reflection, staying home, deepening your connections with family. This is great for that. And with also, there is an opposition to Pluto with the new moon. With the sun forming an opposition to Pluto, sun, moon, opposite Pluto. This is a time where we may be confronting some very negative emotions, some deep emotions, some fears that we have that we need to face. What is in our lives? What have we dealt with? What are the problems? What are the situations? What are the relationships that hold ourselves back from loving ourselves? If there's any old pattern or way of being that we're holding on to, or anything that we need to release and let go of that no longer works for us, to go through that transformative process, this is the time to let go of that. So anything that holds you back, this is a time where you may have to dig down, excavate deep into those deep emotions. And those emotions may run deep. And it's about being willing to go to that deep place and facing and acknowledging and looking at and being present with when we're feeling those emotions. It's okay to feel. So we can allow ourselves to be vulnerability, step into our human, where it doesn't have to be masculine, get out into the world, make money, achieve, get success, work hard, do all these things which are, conditioning on one level from parents or, anyone, in authority or, whoever, with that Capricorn full moon, that conversation between home and your emotions and your inner world, and then your duty, your responsibilities, your your goals, getting out into the world, all those kind of things which correspond to Capricorn. So this is about coming home. This is about tapping into that feminine energy of Cancer. Whatever emotions you may be feeling, be it happiness, joy, peace, luck, or sadness, disappointment, feeling in a rut, feeling uncomfortable, feeling lack of trust. Whatever you're feeling, this is a time to acknowledge those emotions. Lean into the emotion, feel them, ride those emotional waves. There's a song for Cancer, actually. It's called Waves of Emotion. And I should put the link to that song, which represents Cancer so well. And if you are a Cancer, I highly recommend listening to it. Because it basically talks about feeling those feelings and knowing that you will be okay, not to deny those feelings, not to hold back yourself from feeling and leaning into the feelings. So that is the new moon. And also Cancer is very sensitive to the past, to people who wronged Cancer in the past because of the sensitivity there. And so if there's any wounds, if there's any hurts, if there's anyone who wronged you, did something or said something wrong, which you may find difficult to forgive and move on from, and understand where they're coming from, this is a tender time where you can feel what they're feeling. This is a time to forgive people who probably hurt you in the past. There may be this heavy feeling, if depending upon the situation that you're feeling, for those who have hurt you, potentially, probably. So if we can find that space of forgiveness, which serves as release. When I forgive, I release this burden, this grudge that I am holding on to, that is holding me back from being present, enjoying my life, moving forward, living in the here and now. We can find that loving space inside of us where we can choose to forgive. Now, also on this day, there is a square happening with Mercury and Jupiter. So whenever we have a square, this indicates tension. Squares are not easy. They indicate tension. There is some difficult energy. It's really, with a square, there is this feeling of, I'm trying to push a rock up a hill, and it's very, very challenging, but this is what I must do. It may not be easy to climb uphill. It's much easier to go downhill. The downhill aspects are the trines and sextiles. But the uphill aspects are the squares and oppositions, especially the squares. But when we pull that rock up that hill, when we reach the top, we can find a greater sense of self-love, and we really grew. There is this challenge that we faced, and then we feel good about ourselves. We feel accomplished that we did this hard work, that we faced this challenge. Even though it was difficult to pull that rock up the hill. So we grow through doing the hard things, doing that hard work. Growth doesn't come through just things easy things. If everything was easy, comfortable, then if there was no dissonance in life, or no challenge, or no difficulty, and nothing to strive for, then we wouldn't grow and evolve and become better spiritual beings living a human experience. And so that's the beauty of squares. And so with Mercury, the planet of communication, the mental body, the lower mind, the intellect, communication, how we receive and teach the information that we're dealing with. And then Jupiter, which is expansion. It always wants to become bigger, better, greater, always wants to learn new information, but information that is going to evolve you on a spiritual and philosophical level. That's what Jupiter is. And it's also about embracing the abundance in your life. So with the square for Mercury in Leo and Jupiter in Taurus, especially with the fixed energy of holding on, being very willful, because fixed signs, when they have a goal, when they want something, they will go to the ends of the earth to achieve it, because it's a will. It's fixed signs are no before yes. There is resistance to change. There is resistance to doing what other people want and doing, and instead doing what you don't want. It holds on to what it wants stubbornly. So especially with that Taurus Leo energy. And so, I know the famous singer, Barbara Streisand has Sun in Taurus, Moon in Leo, and there is a need to control and, a stubborn need to, have it, my way with the Taurus Leo square. And so, you can study, her and the dynamics that went on and the relationships with the people that she worked with and all those kind of things because, you can study those fixed dynamics going on there. So there can be a sense of optimism with the square where the positive is, I really want to learn something new. I really want to learn something new. I want to expand my mind. I want to expand my vision. I want to, watch a documentary or, read something or, try something new. So great for learning, especially if it's like, history or astrology or anything that is deeper or, learning about, religion and those kinds of things. Maybe getting yourself into a religious, practicing your religion, whatever it may be. Contemplating your religion or spiritual outlook. More on that later. Anyway, but and meeting new people, especially if they are foreign people, from different cultures and different backgrounds. But the squares always bring out the shadow sides of whatever planets are in that conversation. So this can be overconfidence, a cockiness with your ideas, and overzealousness that, my ideas are my way and I have this idea and I, know what I want. And, this is how it is. You see what you're getting. There's a bluntness, there's an honesty, there's a sort of like it cuts through a knife. Well, not necessarily, but it could be just the potential for being overly dramatic, exaggerating something, taking something way out of proportion to what it actually is, making a mountain out of a molehill here. That's, what comes to mind with this energy. So a highly charged confidence in your ideas, but almost an overconfidence where you push down the ideas of others. You dismiss the ideas of others. You don't hold space and listen to the ideas of others. That's, the downside of this square, where humility, that maybe you have this great idea, you have this great vision, you have this thing you want to do, implement, try, explore, move on the path on. But then what about the other idea? What about the flaws of this idea? What about, can we come together and collaborate and see what other people have to say about this idea? But more importantly, this is, what is your idea? And, there can be a sense of a know-it-all-ness, like, you have the right answers, this is, the way that I know how to do this. This is, the way it will be what I say, all those kinds of things like that. And that's why humility is very, very important, that your way may not be the only way. And so not becoming proud in a negative way over your ideas. But more importantly, this is, and we experienced an opposition, actually, of, during the Mercury retrograde that I spoke about last year in 2022. Mercury was retrograde in Libra. It opposed the retrograde Jupiter in Aries, and I have a live stream where I speak about this. I was outside doing it, and I was speaking about having an idea, but then what about the substance? Like, how can, Mercury wants to know where can I get this information? What are the steps I can do on a mental, logical level to implement this? Mercury wants to know the details because it rules Virgo. Virgo's about the details of how is this going to get done in a practical way, the substance of this. So having these great ideas, these great visions out of an optimistic energy, a positive energy where you want to have fun, you want to grow, you want to make the most out of life, Jupiter. But then, how can you ground your ideas in a substantial way, manifest them, take action on them, and look at, is the idea substantial or is it just a pipe dream? Is it something that is possible and can be grounded with tools and wood and lumber? Or is it just lofty, floating, pie in the sky type of thing? So it's important with this to have these ideas and being able to ground them and to look at the ideas of things that you want to do, your goals, your visions, and are they just, fun? Are they just, exciting, optimistic? Do you feel joy with your ideas? Where is the substance in your ideas? Can you ground those ideas? And if you can, what can you do on the practical level, on the earth level, to manifest those ideas and make them a reality? So yeah. And then, the other thing with this is questioning your philosophy, so the deeper spiritual meaning of things, your spiritual outlook on your life. Is it optimistic or is it pessimistic? And there's a whole list of conversations with this. But there's another aspect that I'm going to talk about where this can be more beneficial. So I'm going to move on, but the only thing I'm going to say is Jupiter rules Sagittarius, and it can be pretty blunt as a sign, pretty, very, say it like it is, truth-telling energy. And so being mindful what is coming out of your mouth, of what you're saying, of what you want to express. And is it true? And is it also kind and considerate? So speaking truth kindly, I would add with this. So moving on. Now the next thing I'm going to talk about, I have a whole nother video about. So you can go check out that video on the North Node in Aries, South Node in Libra transit from July 17th through January 11th, 2025. Now, that Mercury-Jupiter square that I just spoke about is also occurring on July 17th. I just want to throw that in there. So, let me see here. So the nodes in Aries and Libra. So, the North Node, South Node axis, as understanding the bare bones of this, is your South Node is the talents and gifts that you come in, your comfort zone, what you're really, really familiar with on a soul level. But if you stay too down to it, then you feel stuck, you feel like you're holding yourself back, and you're not growing spiritually. The North Node is the path to spiritual growth, your destiny. It can be an indicator of your purpose in this lifetime. And how can you evolve as a soul in this lifetime? What are you here to integrate and move towards in a way? Well, not abandoning your South Node, because that balance is super important with that. And when we're too sucked into our North Node, it can be insatiable. We can become hyper-focused, consumed by it. that we lose our sense of self, of where we come from. The South Node's always where we come from. And, an overdoing where we have mastered that energy, that sign, whatever characteristics and traits and qualities of that sign, we know it deeply on a soul level. And we can always come back to it. We can do it in our sleep, basically. We can do the South Node in our sleep because it's just who we are. It's that natural part of us that's never going to be totally gone. There's a fly that just buzzed around me. It's never going to be totally gone. It's always going to be there for you to come back down to, drop back into. Now, Libra can be overly compromising, peacemaking, to the point of people pleasing to an extreme, where we are compromising our needs and wants, our desires, where we're not expressing our authentic self because of, other people, because we're doing what is also ethical to society, fair for the relationship. But we lose our sense of identity. We compromise our sense of self while doing it. So, this can be really looking at where we are caring too much what other people think of us, and we're not being truly ourselves. So, it takes two to tango in relationship, but each person separately makes up that relationship. So we need to include ourselves into that relationship. This is about moving closer to yourself, stepping into your individuality, putting yourself first. And I don't want to see a single comment saying of how negatively selfish that is, because if selfish means just putting yourself first, taking care of your, wants and needs, and loving yourself and living authentically, then, why does selfish have to be a bad thing? Selfish isn't a dirty word unless you are hurting your relationships. If you are being aggressive and violent and temperamental, and I'm going to get up for a second, being just, very impulsive and hurting others with your words, and, doing things that hurt your relationships. That's, that balance with Libra, because Libra is about the balance. It is about thinking and considering the needs of the other person. Aries is the self, Libra is the other. So one way this could show up is if we are asserting ourselves, being sure about what we feel, what we believe, what we want, but in a way that is diplomatic, kind, and considering the needs of others at the same time. And in a peaceful, diplomatic way, which is Libra. So, so caring too much what other people think of us. So, what are we doing that may be socially acceptable? That I have to act in a certain way. I have to present myself in a certain way, say these certain things that are right, ethical, just, but they're not true to me. And you can find where that resonates and that fits in your life. So where are you going along to get along, following the rules, doing what you need to do, where you're putting a mask over yourself? and you are sacrificing yourself for the other, for your relationships with others. And where is that people pleasing and healthy? Maybe on the surface, people are like, oh, that person's so nice. So, they do so well. I think of, parents who say that their children are doing so well in school, getting all the, good grades, doing all the right things, so, well behaved and everything, but is it coming from an authentic place? Is it coming from a heart-centered place, a true place? That's the question. Now the North Node Aries, we're moving into independence. We are becoming, we're not overly dependent on another person to provide us with what we need and what we want. We are asserting ourselves in a bigger way. Standing up for ourselves during this time and standing on our own 2 feet. This is a time with the North Node in Aries to, look at our spark of fire and passion. What do we want to do in our life that we feel passionate about? What is a vision and a goal that we have that we want to take action on and move towards in an independent and a pioneering and courageous way? This is all Aries energy. So this is about self-actualizing. And this is about you have a path that is uniquely your own. And having the confidence and bravery and backbone and the strength inside of yourself to independently move on that path. This is what this energy is about. So what do we feel inspired to do? Well, now this may be a time where we can act on those inspirations because we want to. We feel the need to. We are tuning into our inner fire, and we are actively, because Aries is about action. Aries doesn't want to sit around. It wants to do something. We are acting on that inner fire. And we are leaning into the burn, leaning into our inner fire. As it burns brightly within inside of us, we're leaning into that. And we are following it. We're following our heart, following our instincts to a greater sense of self, and moving towards what we truly want, who we truly want to become. That's essentially this North Node in Aries transit. Now moving on to the 20th of July, we have something difficult. I want to speak more on this because this is one challenging aspect that is occurring this week, which is an opposition, 180-degree aspect, a conversation between Mars in Virgo and Saturn in Pisces. Now, I'm also going to be speaking about when we navigate further into the fall, there's going to be a moment when Venus in Virgo is going to oppose Saturn. And I'm going to speak about that, when we get there, and that has to do with more maybe, relationship challenges. Relationship difficulties, and maybe feeling distant in our relationships, but more, what are the foundations that we can lay for those relationships? So I'm going to be discussing that aspect more when we go further, hopefully. But on July 20th, there is a Mars-Saturn opposition. This opposition can be an energy of anger and frustration with other people, especially people in power. We can become very, very sensitive and very irritated and agitated with those who have more power over us. Where we feel like we can't assert ourselves. We can't stand up for ourselves. We can't achieve what we want to in our lives. So there's this, an opposition there's a polarity with an opposition. There's a sense of, we're feeling divided with an opposition. So there's an anger and frustration with others. Now, Saturn, if we're talking about Saturn, which is always wanting to move you towards your potential. It always wants to test you to see how can you grow. Oh, wait, there's still more work to do. It always wants to move you closer towards becoming better, evolving, becoming a better version of yourself. It's like that, strict parent. Saturn is like a, father figure who, has, you do these chores and, raises you to be self-sufficient in a way where you are maturing in a way where you have that self-confidence and that hard work to strive to become better. That's the high road of what is known as perfectionism. Or perfectionism at the high road is self-improvement. We say perfectionism as a, negative thing, I guess you could say. When we look at the high road of it, it is self-improvement, where we feel enough. So what can we do to polish this or improve this at the same time as feeling enough? That is self-improvement. So I do want to be honest about that. But there is this sense of Saturn always wants you to be the best that you can be. Put in the work. It's all about the quality of the work that you are doing. Saturn is not looking at you saying, yeah, this is good enough. I think that, Saturn does not want halfway. It demands excellence. It demands that you achieve something to the end and you commit to it and you complete it fully with the best effort that you can give. Saturn really wants you to put your heart and soul into what you're doing and what you have to accomplish. So there can be a sense of inadequacy, feeling not good enough, that you haven't gone far enough, that you haven't achieved enough, that you haven't worked hard enough, which can motivate you to work harder, but there's also the self-acceptance piece of knowing that you are enough and etc. But that can be a feeling of inadequacy, of not, there can be this feeling of just, oh, it's so hard, and I don't want to do this hard work. It's challenging to, really commit and focus and do the hard work with that Mars energy and drive and fuel and motivation and the Saturn work ethic, commitment, discipline. So that is important. But then also, where has the hard work that you have done not been appreciated or acknowledged? Do you feel like people appreciate the hard work that you have done, and there may be frustration with those in your relationships about not appreciating the hard work that you have done for them? And it's time to be honest about, okay, this is what I feel. I don't feel that you appreciate what I have done, and I've, mowed the lawn, or I've, done these tasks around the house, or I made this, X amount of money. So there is this sense of feeling like people do not feel that you are good enough. And I also think that harsh criticism may be challenging at this time, where just people judging you in harsh ways. So criticism that you're not enough, that you all those kind of things may be difficult to swallow and take in. So there may be some criticism towards the work that you have done that may be difficult, but it's important to have grace and understanding and seeing the other's perspective, and just use that as fuel to become better. So there is just a slowdown. There's just a lot of blocks with this opposition. There's challenges to face. And there may be a lot of hard work that has to be done, where there's just a lot of challenge. Mars opposite Saturn indicates a lot of obstacles and challenges which require a lot of hard work to face. And so this is a good day where you can use the opposition to get hard work done and achieve what you want to. And if there's any intense emotion that you're feeling, frustration, aggravation, anger, whatever it is, how can you channel that emotion into doing things productively, okay, I want to, do something productive. I want to do this, get something done, or box or take a walk or run, or do something to proactively and productively express and let out my anger in a productive, practical way that does not hurt your relationships with others. Now, there's also an energy on July 20th, which is the Sun in trine with Neptune. So this is good for giving. This is, wonderful. There's this spiritual, compassionate energy where you just want to give. It's great for generosity, giving from your heart. You see someone in pain or see someone having a rough time, and how can you help them? Drawing healthy boundaries, of course, because difficult aspects of Sun to Neptune indicate difficulties with having healthy boundaries. But there is this energy of just, love, of wanting to be of service. This is a time to look at your spiritual beliefs and your outlook on life, your ideas of your life, to examine those. And are they current? Are they true for you? Do those beliefs hold you back from becoming who you truly want to become? Are those beliefs a help or a hindrance? And is your outlook optimistic, joyful? Do you feel grateful for the things in your life? Are you open to new things? Are you open to new adventure, or, the beginning of a fresh new day? And what can you do to make the most of the present moment? What is there to still learn and uncover and explore that you still have? These are some things to think about. Maybe what can I do to better my outlook on life? Or maybe doing something to find another perspective on my life, gain some perspective on my life. So this is also a great time to act with greater empathy and compassion to others, connecting with people on a deeper spiritual level, spending time with other people. If you haven't connected with them in a deep enough way, this is a great day and energy to do that. With the opposition of Mars to Saturn, resolve any arguments or conflicts that may come up in a compassionate and loving way. This is good for also anything creative or artistic or spiritual, painting, drawing, music, getting a palm reading, getting a massage, planting flowers, looking at art, painting, anything that is creative that you can flow with, or anything that is creative or spiritual that is true for you, that you can step into a sense of self-confidence of what you're doing, because the sun is generosity. It's how you want to shine. It's that space of self-confidence. It is sort of that indicates self-love. It is you being the individual that you are. Not for others, but just purely for yourself. And in turn, you're giving that energy. You're inspiring others to be their authentic selves. Anything that you feel proud of, confident in, good about, enthusiastic about, that it wakes you up in the morning, lights you up, gets your creative juices going, that you feel passionate about, or that you're interested in, or something that you enjoy doing in general, that is creative, artistic, or anything spiritual as well. So now moving on to the last big energy for this week. This is a huge week. Next week won't be so big. But we have Venus going retrograde in Leo, and I have to talk about this because this is huge. This is going to be happening on July 22nd, where Venus has been slowing down, and it is going to station to go direct in the sky. Its energies are heightened when Venus is standing still, so we can tap into the energies of Venus much more. So Venus is standing still in the sky in Leo at 28 degrees, and it's going to start moving backwards. So Venus is Venus is a feminine planet. It's like the only feminine planet out there. So it deals with how we want to show up for our relationships. What kind of relationships do we want to enter into? What are the kinds of people that we love? It shows how we love. It shows what are the physical things and feelings and experiences that we love. And with love comes what is important to us. With love comes what do we value. Venus also rules our values. So all these things, all the themes of Venus, love, beauty, relationship, all these are going through a little bit of a psychic surgery or a review during this time, as Venus, takes that plunge into her retrograde phase. So this is a time with Venus retrograde to go deep. It's very internal. When we have a retrograde planet, is that planet on an inward level, much more spiritual, much more subconscious, I want to say. So we can connect with other people at a deeper level. We can look at our love and connection to others. We can deepen our connection with others, and really making time, if we haven't, to spend time for them, because life is a huge part of it is about our relationships. It isn't just about our purpose and the things that we want to achieve and our individual purpose or path, or how we want to be self-sufficient or independent, or just looking out for ourselves all the time. Or the beautiful thing is, why not just spend time with the people that we love? Why not just sit around the campfire and make s'mores and, laugh and, sing songs and, cleaning together, cleaning the fan blades together, because it's so funny. When I think of Venus retrograde in Leo, I think of it. I have a random image of a fan, the fan, because there's a fan that hangs in my kitchen that is round. So I don't know. I just get that funny random image. So it isn't all about just self-improvement all the time, but it can just be just enjoying life, just being for who we are, just living for the moment, just spending time and, just valuing, taking some time out to hang out with people, do things, living in the here and now, having fun, making the most and experiencing the joy in our lives. And I am summarizing a video by an astrologer, Adam Ellenboss, who had a video on Venus and Leo, why dependency is not a dirty word. So I may put that link to the link to that video later so that you can see that, where he explains this as a part of it, where he sort of shares the thoughts that he has about aspects and transits. And yeah, it's the video is very, very insightful. I do have to say so. But this is a time where having more grace and compassion and understanding for others, and being more patient with the other people, this is going to be really, really huge. So I have a whole nother video about this, but I just want to summarize this, that Venus in Leo is very dynamic. It's very passionate. It is all about your authentic creative expression. Are you giving from your heart? Leo is all about the heart. Am I allowed to shine? And am I being truly, authentically myself? Am I expressing myself from my heart? And do you feel that you have the space to express yourself from the heart? Another question to think about is, do you feel respected, appreciated, and adored and loved for who you authentically are in your life and in your relationships? So these are the more deeper, subconscious, spiritual things which may not be as noticeable to you on a mental level, but this is sort of simmering underneath of what we are meditating on and reflecting on, and the themes that we're dealing with and working with during this Venus retrograde season from June 19th through October 8th of this year. October 8th is when Venus leaves behind its shadow. And then pretty soon after that moves on into Virgo. So, and then what truly matters most to you, what is your passion, especially if it is creative. Leo is about maximizing and actualizing your passion. Something that you do that you enjoy that comes from your heart. So, what is most valuable to you? And, doing that, maybe there is a reawakening of a creative hobby or passion that you started the last time. For example, the last time that Venus was retrograde in Leo in 2015, I believe that was from July 25th through September 6th. So something that you creatively have initiated at that time, that you find the inspiration that you want to go back to at this time. So how have you evolved in terms of your authentic self-expression, your creative self-expression from 2015 up to now? is there just heart connection, love, energy in your relationships? And it's just, this is a time where you can also do something from your heart, give to someone else, to give kindness, any act of love, kindness, or doing something or spending time with somebody else because it comes from the heart. So making sure that you are doing something that comes from the heart, that you're living from that heart space, strengthening that connection to your heart at this time is very, very healthy. So this is a time where we are probably going to be more in tune with our values. We can connect deeper with our sense of self, and with this comes self-love. Doing things that, we love ourselves. We can understand and hold space for and appreciate and love ourselves on a deeper level. So doing things that nourish us, that bring us joy, doing things that says, if love was a person, what would it do? What would love do? So coming from that place. That's also, very, very important. When it comes to, if I love myself and I want what's best for myself, what would I do for myself? This is all huge to think about. So with Venus retrograde, there could be past ex-lovers or, people coming back into our lives. There's protocols during Venus retrograde, and I really don't want to list them out because astrologers talk about how you should not get plastic surgery or, all those kind of things like that, a new hairdo, or buy a house or get married during this time. But as I say in my videos about Venus retrograde, well, if you're doing it from a true, authentic place, and if you've meditated on it, if you considered it, if it comes from your intuition, and not just out of your impulse, and if it just comes from your ego alone, I would reconsider doing it. But if it is, absolutely true for you, and if you truly want it, then I would, why not? And this is also about, because Leo is the fun factor, Leo is the joy factor. So experiencing the gratitude that comes with spending time with people in our lives, and finding upliftment and joy from that connection. Who and what is uplifting for us? And now's the time to spend time with people who inspire us, who bring us joy, who light a fire under our butts, let's just say, who turn the volume on for us, who inspire us to do things from a creative, authentic place, and those who encourage us to live in the moment. So spending time with those people who radiate that positive energy, really spending time with the Leos in our lives, especially as on July 22nd, the sun will enter Leo, the sign of, generosity, self-expression, all the themes that I was listing. So happy birthday to the Leos out there, because it is your season. For the whole Leo season, Venus will be retrograde in Leo. So we have this opportunity to look at, and meditating on Are we allowing ourselves to truly shine our light in the world? In relationships and our career, whatever area of life it is. Are we stepping into that power, that sun solar power, which is our authentic self and our heart energy? And now's the time to reflect on all this. So that is the astrology for the week. There was a lot in there. That's really it. That's all I have to say. So I hope that I did not exhaust every last bit of information about the astrology of this week and about the things I was speaking about. There's just a lot here, and I hope that you enjoyed. And I will see you next week. Have a wonderful, wonderful week.